I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart and The Lonesome Crown, all published by Simon & Schuster Saga Press. Today, I'm going to be reviewing John Grisham's first novel, A Time to Kill. Now, this book, I'm going to be giving a little bit of a writing advice also with this review. So pay attention if you're a wannabe writer, because John Grisham is a master storyteller, and we can learn a ton of stuff from each of his books. And let's get into A Time to Kill. It was his first novel he ever published. He self-published it, actually, when self-publishing wasn't even really a thing. This was back in 1989. He was a lawyer working in the South. He wrote this book. He spent 4 or 5 years writing this book, kind of based off of a lot of his own philosophies in the law practices, and nobody was interested in publishing it, so he published it himself. 5,000 copies he printed of this book. He couldn't give them away. Nobody was buying them. Nobody was buying them. He couldn't give the things away. It wasn't until his second book, The Firm, came out, which a big publisher picked up, and he just blew up huge. Then he just became one of the biggest writers in the history of the world. But his first book, it just goes to show you that great masterpieces can go unnoticed for a long time. Great masterpieces can be published, and without the right, promotional people behind it, nobody's going to know about it. But luckily, The Firm blew up huge, and so the publisher decided, hey, let's get his first novel and redo it a little bit and put it out again, and then we'll sell 1 billion copies of that one too. A Time to Kill, man, that was his first book. And the writing advice I'm going to give you right off the bat is, this book opens with one of the most gut-wrenching, brutal scenes in the history of literature. And what you need to do as a writer is you need to study that opening scene and just watch what type of word choice, the words that John Grisham uses to paint one of the most ugly pictures you will ever read, one of the most heart-wrenching, terrible scenes you will ever come across, that makes you feel so much heartbreak and sympathy for the person that's being persecuted in the scene, and such rage, hate, and anger for her attackers. Study that opening scene. Study the way John Grisham has those characters talk to each other, interact with each other, the words they use to talk to each other, the words he uses to describe the scene. And you will learn how to write like I said, the grimmest, most gut-punching, awful horror story in the world. Because the first scene of this book is about a young girl named Tanya, a young black girl, just 11 years old, who's kidnapped by a bunch of racist redneck white boys, taken off into a pickup and sexually assaulted in the woods. I won't get into the details because you need to read that scene, because it sets up the entire rest of the book, A Time to Kill. Read that scene right there. Study it. It's going to be hard to get through. Trust me, for some of you, this will be hard to get through and you're not going to want to read it. But you need to read it if you want to learn how to write stories that have an impact, because that scene is just blow you away. Oh, I just hated reading it for all the reasons that John Grisham wanted me to hate to read it, if that makes sense. The story then goes on to these rednecks. Well, they leave the girl for dead, right? But she survives. They find out that which rednecks attacked her. They're holding them in the jail, awaiting a trial, awaiting for them to be prosecuted and charged with the crime. Now, her father, Carl, takes it upon himself to exact revenge on these 2 rednecks. He takes a shotgun to the courthouse and he kills them. And it's a bloody, gruesome murder. he takes care of business. He avenges the pain and suffering and horror that his daughter had to go through. And my God, if John Grisham hadn't set the scene to begin with, there's no way you would sympathize with the father. Because you sympathize with that father and you're like, yeah, kill those. Kill them dead. Kill them. Yes. They deserve to die. They are piles of dog. Oh my gosh. The setup. That's the setup for this story. Is there a time to kill? That's the question we're being asked right from the get-go of this book. Hard-hitting, man, it's done masterfully. For the first novel, this is the guy's first novel. And man, just a home run right out of the park. Right from the get-go, you are just invested in these people because you're like, yeah, that guy, his daughter was attacked and it was awful because I read the attack and I don't feel any sympathy for those bastards that got killed. And I don't want this guy to go to jail because all he was doing was protecting his daughter. He didn't want her to have to relive all that garbage in a trial and all that other stuff, so he went and shot him. Now, here's the thing. Then we get our main protagonist, Jake Brigance, the lawyer that is going to defend this father of this daughter. You know, he's going to defend Carl, the daughter of the father of Tanya. So Jake Brigance is our young hero lawyer that comes in to, you know, see if he can get Carl off of the murder charge. And that's the plot. And I'm not going to give anything else away, you know. A lot of you probably seen the movie starring Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson. It's a great movie. Absolutely great movie. Great courtroom drama. And that's what John Grisham is known for. Great courtroom drama. I can't tell you how awesome this book is. And then when you get to the end and it all wraps up and you're just like, yeah, man. Yeah. If only, you know. So that's my review of A Time to Kill. The reason I'm reviewing it is because John Grisham also wrote Sycamore Row, which is also about Jake Brigance and this little town. And his third novel in the trilogy is coming out in a month, and it's called A Time of Mercy. And so I'm going to be rereading both of these to prepare myself for A Time of Mercy because I love them. Love these books. I love everything John Grisham does. Man, if you want to learn how to write, you got to read this dude. You got to read this dude. You got to watch all the YouTube videos where he gives out writing advice. Man, you got to get into this stuff. Even if you're writing fantasy or science fiction or horror, I don't care what you're writing. You got to read this dude and learn how to craft a thriller. Just got to. You got to. Especially these first chapters. Oh, man. I can't tell you how freaking awesome it is to read a dude that knows how to set up a scene where you are just automatically invested in the horror and you want revenge yourself. I mean, if you had a shotgun, you'd have shot those bastards also. Anyway, that's it. That's my review of A Time to Kill. John Grisham's first novel, man. You know, it's a good 9.5 out of 10. If not, a straight 10 out of 10.